Hi everyone, and welcome to my reflection for Wednesday the 10th of June. Now, I mentioned reflection, but today's video is more of an update, a bit of a news update than a reflection, as there's a few practical things I want to make people aware of that will be taking place hopefully over the next few weeks. Now, hopefully beginning next week, we should be able to open the church building for short periods each day, allowing people to use the church building for private prayer. We will not yet be able to offer formal services, but it will be nice for us all to have the opportunity to come into church to just pray quietly. Now, obviously, my main concern as a vicar will be to ensure as much as it is possible that the church building is a safe space for people to come into. And due to that, obviously, we will still have to follow the strict social distancing rules whilst inside the building, keeping at least 2 metres away from everyone else at all times. Now, when you come to church, if you do come to pray, there will be clear guidelines for conduct which will be available on notices as you come into the church and also on the outside of church as well. And then there'll be regular updates on the church website and then Facebook pages as well. So please make sure that you check on those before you just turn up, so that you know the sort of things that you'll be expected to do when you come and the sort of procedures that will be in place. And just to stress, as I'm sure you're all aware, it is so important that if we do open the church, that everyone follows those strict guidelines when they come to church, so that we can ensure that it is a safe place. One of the things that we'll be doing each day before opening the church will be to spray and clean all the pews and door handles and things like that. And then also, as people leave the building, where they've been sat and anywhere they may have touched will be cleaned as well. But obviously, the fewer places people touch while they're in church, the easier it will be to keep on top with that. Now, as there was just before the lockdown, there will be hand gel which will be available at the entrance to the church, and it will be required that you use that on entry and also when vacating the building as well. Now, to begin with, if we open just an hour or so each day, I will intend to be at church each time that we're open. So I will personally be available if there's something you want to share, or if you want to have a chat, or for me to pray with you. I will be available to do that as well. But obviously, we still need to keep that required distance, following the guidelines. Now, to reduce the risk of infection and cross-infection, when we do open the church, I'm going to suggest that at least initially that the church toilet will not be available for use. So sorry for the inconvenience, pun intended, but that is what we're going to be doing, because I think that the toilet is somewhere where people going in and out, it's hard. You don't know what people have touched or while they've been in there, whether they've cleaned afterwards around the sink and the taps and that. So I think initially, because we're only going to be open for short periods, it'll be best for the toilet not to be in use. So just be aware of that before you come as well. Now, over the last few weeks, I've had a few phone calls from people asking about the regular giving envelopes for those of you who give through the envelope scheme. Now, if you haven't been able to get those to me already, if you wanted to pop into church when it is open, you will be able to bring them. And what I'll do is I'll just have a box for you to drop them into as you come in. So if that's been on your mind, that you've not been able to give the envelopes to the church over the last few couple of months, then if at any point you come into the church to pray, you will be able to bring those and just leave them with me if you wanted to do that. But there's no rush. Don't be coming down just to do that. We can sort things out whenever later on. But just beware that if that was something that has been on your mind, you can bring them when the church is open for prayer, because I will be there myself. Now, as we all know, these are very important times for us, and particularly as those lockdown restrictions begin to be eased a little bit, it's so important that we're all vigilant. Now, particularly as well as we're coming into church again, a place we're very familiar with, we have familiar habits that we do, and it's important that we are aware of our space and of other people's space as well, and don't just be picking things up and putting them down, and unless it's necessary. We also is aware as well that even though we hope to open in the coming weeks, depending on how the virus is behaving in our community, then things may have to change as well. So don't assume that the pattern that we've had for opening the church one week will be the same the following week. We'll try to keep it as consistent as we can, but just check on the website or check on notices the day before if you're walking past church, just to make sure that things haven't changed, either through government advice or through advice from the diocese as well. Things may need to change with short notice, so please just be patient with us, and we'll try to keep the news on the website and things as up to date as possible all of the time. Now, hopefully this period will be the beginning of us moving towards being able to gather together for corporate worship in the church. And if everyone keeps to the practical guidelines that we're putting in place when they come to church in these coming weeks, it will help to ensure that we all have a good practice in place, which will enable us to move towards worshipping together sooner rather than later. So it is quite a crucial time for us as a fellowship as well. One of the things I was going to mention briefly just at the end of my reflection and update for today is that tomorrow, on the 11th of June, it's the day where we remember St. Barnabas. Now, St. Barnabas was a very close friend and colleague of the Apostle Paul, someone who helped and supported him in his ministry. And although St. Barnabas was a Jew himself, he was prominent in the movement within the early church to ensure that everyone, all people of all backgrounds, of all races, whatever experience they may have had, that everyone was welcomed into the family of the church, and that the church was a safe place, like a refuge for all people. Because of that, Barnabas got given the name a son of encouragement, because of his tireless work to always encourage people and to help people know that they were loved and that they were accepted. He was somebody who helped the church in those early days go through difficult times and opposition, and always tried to keep a positive attitude in all that he did. St. Barnabas, rather than seeing problems to overcome, was someone who always saw the positive in each situation. And I think we can learn a great deal from St. Barnabas in these current times. It would be so easy as things begin to be laxed a little bit to forget how important it is to know that things will be different. Church will not be exactly the same as it was the last time we were there. Worship will be different. The fellowship will be different. And it'll be so easy just to bemoan that things aren't how they used to be. The sooner we accept things may not return to how they used to be, the better. And then we can focus on the good and all the positive things that we can still enjoy. I do not know what shape the church, either locally or nationally or worldwide, will take when we come out of this present crisis. But we must all look to celebrate the good things that we can do, rather than mourning the things which may have changed. We all have to think about how we can encourage one another in the faith, and like St. Barnabas, be people who make the church stronger, both in faith and in our care for one another. And above all, the most important thing to remember is that God will always be with us. The body of Christ may become something which, at least on the outside, looks a lot different to what we are familiar with. But as long as Christ is the head of the church, as long as Christ is at the centre of all that we do, then the church will continue to grow and flourish. It may well be that we as a church fellowship, like many people are also experiencing personally in their lives, are able to take time to focus on things that really matter about church life, rather than expending energy on things which are not essential for our growth and actually may in some ways hinder the growth of the fellowship as well. Like St. Barnabas, let's all trying to look for the positive in each situation, to encourage one another in the faith, and to celebrate that God has called us into his body. Let's celebrate that and rejoice in that, and in that amazing love of God, rather than focusing on the things which may be changing now or in the future. God will be with us, and God's Spirit can encourage us and help us to encourage one another in the faith. And ultimately that is why God has called us together. So that's it for today. Don't forget to check the updates at the weekend in my next video, or on the church website, and on Facebook there'll be updates about the times that we will be opening next week, if we can get everything in place in time. So look for that on Sunday, and hopefully I'll see you on Sunday with another reflection as well. So keep praying, keep believing, and keep safe. God bless, and hopefully I'll see a lot of you soon.